Hello, good people of the internet. It's another green mat video, and I know it's been quite a few months since my last video, but work got in the way, and I got busy, so stuff happens. But I miss making these videos, so I'm back with another video, and this time on a topic that I've picked up since my last video, and that kept me entertained while I was doing my work. Because you can actually do this at work. If you're lucky like me, I have an office job, so I have these moments of downtime. Some people have fidget toys. I have this, and I'm talking about lockpicking. So I started out with buying a lockpick set, knowing nothing about lockpicking, and I'm now an orange belt lockpicker. So you go from white, yellow to orange, and I'm going for my green this week. And I've been enjoying it thoroughly. So I thought make a video and explain to people what I've learned and how I picked my pick set, how I picked the first locks I needed to pick, and how I practiced. I guess people are interested in that, right? I mean, if you want to start in lockpicking, then it's nice to have kind of like a roadmap of somebody who just picked up the sport, because it is a sport. It's called locksport. So anyway, the first thing I did was buy a lockpicking set, and this one is by Multipick. Don't know if you can see it right here. So Multipick is kind of like a top brand in lockpicking. I did actually buy a lockpicking set with a practice lock from a cheap Chinese manufacturer, but I quickly realized that that's not going to cut it. You need something quality. This is actually something you need to invest in. So I picked this one, and I love the quality. These were actually not part of the kit, of the set. I added these later separately. So forget these. The set is this. There's a lot of picks here. These are called picks. This is what you put into the lock, into the keyway, and this is the tension bar that you use. So you can use it like this. Well, I'll show you later. So this is the first thing I bought, and this is kind of like a sub €100 investment. So I was pretty chuffed with that. I felt like a lockpicker already. But of course I knew nothing about lockpicking, so the next thing I needed to do was get myself a lock to pick. So again, I went online, and you have these transparent locks that you can buy, but everybody told me, or I read on Reddit primarily, that these are worthless. So I went for the, let me get the right one, SPARROWS. SPARROWS is another well-known brand in lockpicking. I went with this one. So this is a cutaway lock. You can actually see the pins. And the idea, the point of lockpicking with these pin tumbler locks is that you line the pins up so the lock can turn. That's the goal of picking. Because if you take out the key, let me see, you see that they're not lined up anymore, and the lock won't turn because the pins are blocking the cylinder from turning. So when you insert the key, you can see that the pins move in a position so that they're all in line. They're on the shear line, what it's called, and the cylinder inside this thing, this is a cylinder, that can turn because the pins are no longer blocking the cylinder. And when I take the key out, you can see it's now, they're all over the place and they're blocking. So that's kind of like the basics of how it works for these pin tumbler locks. So this was the first lock that I bought, and I started practicing, and that went very well. So I thought I need a real lock, right? Something I can't see inside. And the first lock I bought that people kind of suggest is this ABUS lock. This is the 5530. It's a small lock, but from what I gathered was that the feedback, so when you pick these pins, they click when they're in the right place. And with these locks, the feedback, so the click, is very noticeable. So it's an easier lock to pick, right? So that's why I went with this lock, and that was great. I mean, I felt like a superhero picking my first lock. But then I thought, okay, cool, I'll go for my next lock, and I'll upgrade to the ABUS. This is the 5540, which is a little bigger than the 5530 and a little harder. And it was hard, it was very hard. Suddenly I felt very stupid again. So I needed more practice, I guess. I was going too fast. So I bought these. And this one. So these are practice locks by SPARROWS, same manufacturer of course as this one, and these have numbers on them. So over here you see the number 2, this is number 3. So what it means is that this one has 2 pins you need to set. So when you put a pin in the correct position, you set the pin. This one has 2 pins you need to set, this one has 3, 4, 5. So they kind of like increase in difficulty. And this was a very good investment. I'm not sure what it cost me. I'm gonna say about 30, 40 bucks. So that was a good investment. So this kept me busy for a while. And lo and behold, once I got better in these locks, I suddenly could open this lock. So practice makes perfect, y'all. It really does. When things look hopeless, when you think, oh, this is not something I'll be able to do, I have no talent in this whatsoever, trust me, you have and you will. You just need practice. You need this muscle memory, you need whatever it's called, you just need to practice. And then I bought this one. And this is, I haven't cracked this one yet. I'm not good enough. So this one, I'm not sure if you can spot it, but these have, this is the easier one. These are regular pins inside. And these have a bunch of safety pins inside. So all kind of safety mechanisms for that are anti-pick. And this one doesn't. So this one is easier to open and this one is not. Now, I'm not saying you have to do this. Actually, I advise against doing it. But, you know, when I go for something, I go for it full force. So I also bought this. And this is a reload kit. And you can actually open these locks up, gutting them. You can take out the cylinder. And you can put in new pins. So you have some pins here, you have safety pins in here, and I don't know, all kinds of cool stuff. These are springs. So you can actually reorganize or rebuild these locks in any kind of lock you want. So you can have infinite fun with these locks. it's very enjoyable to play around with. So I have my lockpicking set. I have the kind of like the gateway lock, if you will, the ABUS 5530. Then comes the ABUS 5540. So the next lock I wanted to attend, and by the way, I picked this lock for my yellow belt. Yes, you can actually, I said in the beginning, it's a sport. You can earn belts, right? So I picked this one for my yellow belt. So you have white, yellow, and then you have orange. And this one I picked for my orange belt. So again, this is larger than the ABUS. And this is well-known brand, Master Lock. And this one was really hard to do in the beginning. And it took me a lot of fiddling with lock picks and tension and finding the right amount of tension and finding the right pick even. And you have tension bars that go at the top of the keyway, and you have tension bars that go in the bottom of the keyway. There's a whole universe of things to learn about lockpicking, but it's a lot of fun, right? It's really a lot of fun. And like I said, you just, when I'm at work, right, and I have to let a process run for a bit, like half an hour or something, I just take out the lock, put in the tension, like that, put in the tension, and then just start picking. And it's really enjoyable. There was a click. And let me see. Okay, I just grabbed a pick, right? I grabbed the wrong pick. I need a thinner pick for this. Okay, I'm not gonna do that on air because it takes me forever. I'm not like fluent, but I did pick it. I pick it about, I would say 15, 20 times a day to practice. So then I thought I'd invest more money into this hobby because when you really start doing this hours and hours on end, you start to get cramp, right? Because you're holding the lock and you start picking and like, you put pressure on here and you're busy and at a certain point your hand starts to cramp. So the next thing I bought was a vise. And this is a really popular one. This is by a company called Bessie. And you just put it on your desk, flat surface, and it will kind of like suck itself to the platform, and it's really sturdy and it's nice. Right? It's very inexpensive, about 30 bucks. So that helped, and then you can, you know, put the lock in there while you pick it. So that saves you from developing some RSI complaints, right? So I quickly noticed that these tension bars were all for bottom of the keyway. So the bottom, you know, like here, bottom. But I wanted to use the tension on the top of the keyway because then you have more room for your pick. I didn't have that, so that was the first thing I bought. Next, I first bought these cheap ones, but you know, like I was splurging money anyway. I bought these by, I think it's Sparrow, and these are the sexy curved ones. So what you do then is top of the keyway, you can hold it like this, right? And then you can put your pick in here. You have more room to play because the bottom isn't filled with the tension bar. So yeah, what's the next thing I bought? So we're, collecting a bunch of stuff now. And I'm not saying you need to do that. I'm just saying, this is what I learned and this is what I did. So maybe you can do your own research and start out with a picking set that has good picks and also top of the keyway tension bars in there. Yeah, so because I'm in Europe, I need these ultra thin picks for other locks. So my final sale, final purchase was this picking set from SPARROWS. And look at the, I don't know if you can see this, how thin that is. And this is very bendy. So in really, really thin locks, this kind of bends with you where you want to go with the pin, right? This pick doesn't really bend. It's very, very sturdy, right? So when you put it in a lock, it goes straight and that's it. This pick goes in the lock, and if it needs to go around a little obstacle, it can bend, but still very firm. So that's cool. So this was the last purchase I made, and like I said, I'm going for belts. I have a new master lock coming my way today or tomorrow, and that's for my green belt, and I'm keep on trucking. And I just, put these in my pocket, and I put this one in my pocket because, this lock still has a good ratio of frustrating me and being opened by me. So, I mean, this lock I can open relatively easily. This lock still gives me a little headache. So I'll just keep practicing on this lock until, I'm very fast in it and stuff like that. So the only thing I noticed is that when you start out, these locks are, they're not only increasing in complexity, but also in price. So this lock is kind of like 12 bucks. This was like 8 bucks. But when you start for your green belt, like the master lock I'm now purchasing, that's a 911, that was 30 bucks, for a lock. So try to get your locks on marketplaces, second-hand marketplaces. Unfortunately, in where I live in the Netherlands, there isn't a really active marketplace for second-hand lockpicking locks, but maybe in your neck of the woods there is. So anyway, I just wanted to tell you what I was doing and what keeps me occupied. And as of this moment, that is lockpicking. I'm truly obsessed with lockpicking at the moment, and of course with work, but this is it. So anyway, I hope somebody out there is going to find this useful. And if I have more to say about this topic, then I will definitely let you know. Anyway, have a good day and catch you later. All right, let's see if I can open this lock for you. Put in the tension here and just start picking. First pin, second is nothing. That was a click. There was a click. There was a false set. Ease the tension a little. Try from the front again. Come on. Don't make me look like a fool. There we go. Took me a while, but you know, not claiming I'm already good enough, but you know, at least this one I can pick.